What's up, guys? So I just got done with a nice bike ride, some beautiful weather out here in Florida, and something interesting happened on my bike ride. As I was riding along, all of a sudden I got a flat tire, and I didn't have the proper equipment prepared with me to replace my tire, and I was on the middle of the trail, not near anywhere where I could fix my tire, and so I was like, ah, shoot, you know, um, and. I was walking my bike, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this really fit guy on his bike sees me, and he slows down. He says, "Hey, are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm all right. Just got a flat tire." And he said, so he stops his bike, gets off, and he takes a look at my bike and everything, and he goes, "Oh, hey, don't worry about it. I got an extra tube." He's like, I can fix it for you and everything." I said, "Really?" And sure enough, he had a whole little backpack thing on the back of his bike, and he had all the equipment. He bust out. He had a little CO2 thing and a tube, and he was real good at it. Could tell he'd done this before, and before you know it, within a couple of minutes, he had completely replaced my tire and everything, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, this is just a complete stranger, didn't know me. Just took not only did he not know me, but for free. I mean, took his parts that costed him money, took his time. He was in the middle of his ride. He was an in shape guy, and to help out a complete stranger. And then also, right as he was finishing up, someone on a golf cart was coming on by, and they slowed down. "Hey, are you guys all right?" And said, "Yeah, it's all right, just fixing a flat tire." "Oh, you guys, you need a ride? You can throw your bike up here on the golf cart, and I'll give you a ride to the nearest place where you can, get some air for your bike or fix your tire." And "No, it's all right, he's fixing me up." And then, right about that same time, somebody else on a bike comes up and asks him all right, and I couldn't believe it. It was like, before you know it, I had like a whole community of people around me, all willing to help me, all complete strangers. And as I got back to my bike and was riding away, I couldn't help but feel this overwhelming sense of joy and sensation for how amazing humans are, other people, and how nice people are, and how kind people are, and just how generous and giving and kind, and just how great our other fellow humans are. But when you look on the news, if you turn on the news and the media, it's the exact opposite. We're basically conditioned, the news conditions us on a regular basis that we all hate each other, that the left and the right hate each other, and there's so much division, and every day you turn on the news, there's drama, and all kinds of just low vibrational type of content that's being put out, whether it's real, fake, true, or whatever. The thing is, and I learned this back when I was in college, I went to school for marketing, and I've been in sales most of my life, is that bad news sells much more effectively than good news. That they've done experiments where they'll put out magazines or newspapers with the headlines being something positive, something happy, and then they do the same thing in the same place and everything, except with something that's a sensational headline, some kind of negative, something, some kind of negative type of a headline, sensational headline, with the shooting or whatever, and that one sells significantly, exponentially more than the one that's promoting something happy and good news. And so that's just the nature of reality, is that bad news travels quicker and more effectively than good news. And so the media is a business, and so it's in their best interest to put out information that is going to spread more rapidly and get more views and attention on their platform, so that they can make more money, generate more income, and so forth. And the reason why this isn't good, there's a lot of different reasons why, but one reason why it isn't good is due to something I remember learning about this in a psychology book, a book on psychology and manipulation and everything. Great book. I can't remember the title off of it right hand, but I'm sure if I look through my books I could find it. And I remember this book, how it illustrated and demonstrated how humans are so much like lemmings, and like sheep, and that we, when someone does one thing, next thing you know, more people of it do it. And I remember this book talked about this island. I forget the island, but it was out in like the Caribbean or something like that. And this island, very rarely ever had suicides. It had a suicide like, maybe one suicide a year, something like that. I don't remember the number exactly, but it was pretty rare. It was like, and they had a publication, main publication, newspaper for the island. And what happened was that the publication, the newspaper, all of a sudden started, before never talked about the suicides or anything. It never mentioned it, and there was just one suicide yet. And all of a sudden, they started to write about the suicides, and write about created a column on the suicide, talking about it. And all of a sudden, more people started committing suicide, and they started writing about more, and just really just talking about the suicide, not promoting anything like that. And before you know it, it became a common practice to keep talking and writing in the newspaper and the publication about suicide. And before you know it, the number of people that were committing suicide had gone through the roof significantly. Before, when it was just something, it was like a once in a blue moon type of a thing, someone would commit suicide. It became for example, it went from like one a year to like 50 a year, something really high like that. And what this book continued to go on and showing about was how one of the problems with the news and the media, for example, is that when they do something like simply talk and publicize about something like suicide, for example, it gets other people to do it as well. And so, for example, with the shootings, we're seeing a lot of obviously shootings, unfortunately, on the news over the past couple of years, and it's getting, crazy and crazier. But really, the worst thing that the news can do is to keep talking about it. They're basically, glamorizing all these shootings. And so the people that are watching this, most people are inherently good, and are good people, and are good-hearted. But there are a few people out there that that do thrive on doing evil acts, and in my opinion, that those people, it's very rare. Most people are inherently good, but the problem is that when the news is glamorizing all these shootings, then it's basically those people, even though inevitably if they go out doing a shooting, they're kind of it's almost like an act of suicide, because they're going to end up in jail or killed in the act. But what happened is, because it's being glamorized, more people are doing it. Just kind of like the same thing with the suicide. And obviously the news and the media isn't going anywhere. But one thing that I've always believed that the strongest way that you can vote in this world is through your own actions, through the way that you spend your money, and the way that through your day-to-day actions. So I don't watch the news. I don't give the news any attention at all. In fact, I cut off my cable completely. I don't even have basic cable at my house, and I cut it off completely almost 10 years ago now. I haven't even had basic cable. I do have Netflix. I don't watch a lot of TV, but on the weekends sometimes I'll watch a movie or two. But I don't watch the news, because it's pretty much just always doom and gloom, and it's painting a picture that that there's so much chaos out in the world, and that people are so evil, and there's so many bad people out there, and because of it, now people are more paranoid than ever, and people have this idea that there's so many wackos out there, and there's so many crazy people out there. If you talk to most average people out there, they have this idea that there's a lot of crazy people out there, and a lot of nut jobs and wackos, but really the number is very small. When you look at it from a numbers basis, it's extremely small. But when the news glamorizes it and sensationalizes it, then it makes it look like there's a lot more people that are crazy and evil than there really are. And all this is doing is just is what's happening is the public is getting instilled with all these low vibrational emotions and being instilled with fear. Right now people, a lot of people from last night, from the shooting and waking up today, everybody, I didn't even know about it until other people started telling me about it. That's how I always find out the news. I never find out things until people start telling me about, oh, did you hear about this? Oh my God, no, I didn't hear about it. What happened? And but all of a sudden, everybody that has been telling me about this, they're all paranoid. They're all on edge. They're paranoid. I remember one of my relatives, when there was a shooting in an airport. I can't remember when this was, a year ago or something. And she had a plane ride, like, a couple, days later. She didn't even want to go on her plane ride because she was so paranoid that just going to the airport, she might get, shot. Even though it's like a 1 out of a billion chance something like that would happen. But she had this fear going on in her mind over something that's, an anomaly, 1 out of a billion. And in my day-to-day life, in my business, I have a notary business. I've gone into thousands of people's homes, and I go into people's homes just about every single day. And one of the things that I notice is that the overwhelming majority of the people have the news going on in the background. They're watching the news, it doesn't matter if it's a news outlet from the left or the right or whatever. They're both wings of the same bird, and so they. It's always surprising to me how many people have the news just going on in the background. And what kind of a way is that to go through your life? With living in fear. And you may not think, I watch it to be informed. Okay. Well, a lot of what is put on the news is sensationalized, glamorized, and so it's misinformed. Since it's sensationalized. And so would you rather be misinformed or uninformed? Right? If you watch the news, you're going to be misinformed because a lot of what's on the news is misinformation. But supposedly if you don't watch the news, then you're uninformed. Well, I don't want to be uninformed or misinformed. I want to choose to inform myself and do my own brainwashing, choose what I want to feed my mind with. And that's how I choose to live my life. I am constantly listening to audios and lectures and books and so forth, but I specifically choose what I want to brainwash myself with so that I can put the content in my head that's going to instill in me the type of emotions that I want to have through a day-to-day life, in the type of and that way I have more control over the way that I feel. Because our emotions really are a big component of what controls the outcome of our life. And a lot of people don't realize that. And so if you're listening, you have the ability to brainwash yourself with whatever you want. You can choose to watch the news, but then you're going to be brainwashed and you're going to be fed low vibrational content, misinformation, and low vibrational content that is going to keep you living in fear and anxiety, and you're going to be paranoid and think that everybody, all your fellow man and community is awful and out to get you, and a bunch of wackos and whack jobs out there. Or you can choose not to participate in the news and watch it, and choose instead to feed your mind with the content of your choice. And you can choose to feed your mind with information that is going to empower you, and you can choose to be informed, but just choose to research and get your information from sources that are not going to be manipulating you and have it in their best interest to trigger your low vibrational energy and your low vibrational emotions. It's interesting because when I was a kid, I remember I used to play outside all the time, and it was like no big deal. Even as a young boy, I remember riding my bike down the street, to the ice cream store all by myself. And that was normal. Kids played outside all the time. But nowadays, it's like, parents are so paranoid to have their kids out by themselves. They're just so paranoid because of the news. And I remember, I have some appointments with a lot of Spanish people because of my second language. And I remember one time not too long ago, I had an appointment with this Spanish family. They had moved here not too long ago, and they had children. And they said, how come children here don't, how come nobody plays out on the street here? How come nobody goes outside? And I really had to stop and think about it and crack up because I get what they meant, back where they were from, people were outside and everything and playing, and like when I was a kid, everybody played outside, but nowadays you don't see that as much. Sure, there's still children that play outside, but not near as much as it used to be. And not just, because, oh, they're on home playing on their iPads and things like, no, I had video games when I was a kid. A big reason why is because paranoia. Everybody's so afraid nowadays. And we're painting this picture that the world is so much more awful than it really is. And sure, there's a lot of evil in the world. I won't even begin to doubt that. But your fellow man or woman, your fellow community is good, and they're good natured. And the people, if you want to see how good people are, go and talk to your neighbor, go and talk to your fellow community. And what you'll find is that they're good people, they're good hearted, they're not the bad guys. They're not the ones who are evil. It's such a small percentage of people that are evil. And really it's understanding that it's the news and the media that is making things seem so much worse than it is. And so, guys, I know I kind of went off on a long talk here, but what I want to say is turn off the news. Stop watching it. Take control of your own emotions in your own life. Stop. You don't need to know about all the information on the latest shooting, on the latest this or that or whatever. You're going to feel a lot happier in your life if you stop learning about all that stuff and instead start informing yourself. Oh, I gotta get going here. So till next time, have a great day, great week, great month. See you later.